Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Crew 2. And yes, you guessed it, Demolition Derby. Today we're doing the last 3 races for this discipline, our nemesis races as we call them. All of these are arena races structured similar to the number 8. On the map we have the ring up here and the aircraft cemetery and the 8 races down here. Now, I did not record these races live since they have been such a struggle, and during my efforts to complete them they continue to be somewhat of a struggle, even if not as much as before, and I'll let you know why later on. To begin with, I started with the ring.
I'll stop talking so you can start driving.
I made several attempts with similar results as before, which means I mostly ended in last place or knew already after one lap or so that the race would be a total failure and I had no chance of completing it whatsoever, even in top 3. But just as I was about to give up once again, I remembered that perhaps we should try Pro Tuning specific for these tracks. So I went to Pro Tuning and tried to stabilize the car as much as possible. I maxed out ABS, I changed the camber settings, I stiffened the anti-roll bars, to mention some of the changes. And then I went back and tried the race again. I found that the Pro Tuning really did help, and in the first attempt after making these changes, we managed to complete this race finally in a top 3 position. Then I moved on to the aircraft cemetery race, and to be honest, I don't know how many attempts I did here. Even though the Pro Tuning did help, I just never seemed to get a break for one single race to secure the top 3 position. Some examples of the problems I encountered in this race was to still spin out, crash in various ways coming off the ramps, and being stuck in crashes in the middle section of the track where the cars meet. So eventually I actually quit for a while, but then I decided to not give up and came back, but tried the race the 8 instead. And this turned out to work way better than before, so the Pro Tuning helped here as well. In similar fashion of the aircraft cemetery race, the 8 race was completed in the first attempt and we even managed to get a win. So that put us in a position where the only remaining race was the aircraft cemetery race, the only remaining race of the nemesis races, and the only remaining race for the entire discipline of Demolition Derby. So I went back to try that once again, and it turned out that our luck had changed, and in just a few attempts of this race as well, we managed to complete it. So that completed the entire Demolition Derby discipline. And it seems like I can't shake the feeling that, I mean, the Pro Tuning did help. I'm not sure how many hours I've spent on just these 3 races, but if I should just estimate, like put my finger up in there and estimate, maybe about 2 hours just on these 3 races. So maybe we should have gone and did the Pro Tuning sooner, but even if that helped, at least for the aircraft cemetery race, I can't shake the feeling that there is quite a big portion of randomness actually in these disciplines as well. I mean, you might get smacked in the head by the spinning bars in the corners. You might get hit just at the wrong time in the corner, so you spin out. There is no way for you to sort of control the spin, but you end up facing the wrong direction. Or even if when you come around like in the circular portion of the map, I mean where the ramps are, you might even go in like a second lap for that circle of the number 8, if you know what I mean. Like say you start the ramp on one side, then you come off the ramp on the other side, and then you get hit and you get a drift, and you sort of drift into the path of restarting the ramp, so you have to go another lap, and that will cause you an insane amount of lost time. Or you will have to like reverse and turn in the right direction, and then you might even get, I mean, hit in the rear and pushed into the corner, and the race is just lost right there, right? So random events might decide the race many times, which becomes very frustrating. And which is something that don't really float my boat, which is why these races has been such a challenge for me to endure all of these attempts, because I have had the feeling that if we just get a break for one race, we can make it. I mean, I even had situations even before I did the pro tuning where I have been dead last in 8th position, and I've even been lapped, and I managed to catch up to position 3, but then maybe in the last corner or so, it actually happened that I did this. I did catch up, like from being lapped and catching up to position 3, but then in the last corner, I don't know, I don't remember what happened, but I got overtaken just before the finish line, and I ended the racing 4th, which is not good enough. And then I had to retry. But very annoying. Also, for example, for the aircraft cemetery race, there might be situations where the race leader just he has a good flow. The random events is in his favor, so to speak. So he blasts through the race without any real issues. So he's really hard to catch up. But in other situations, it might be that the top 3 guys, all of them get stopped in different crashes and in traffic jams, maybe in the middle sections where the car meets. And me, who's maybe in position 5 or 6, I can just blast through them because they come to a dead halt. And if that happens several times for them, then yes, I have a perfect position to catch up and to maybe win the race. So yeah, very circumstantial. Random events do decide the races a lot, which can become very frustrating. But in the end, with all these races completed, would I go back to play Demolition Derby again? The answer is maybe. It is not one of my favorite disciplines, but it does beat all aircraft disciplines, that's for sure. If I were to play Demolition Derby again, I would most likely not select any of these Nemesis races. Like I said, I spent about 2 hours, maybe more, trying to complete just the 3 races, so I feel like I've had enough of them. I've struggled too much for them. They have sort of become infected for me. I don't want any more to do with these particular races. However, there are still fun races out there in Demolition Derby to do, both point-based and rally style races. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, it's not one of my favorite disciplines, but it's not one of the worst either. I might come back just for the pure enjoyment to do some of the other races. It is still very possible. So now that Demolition Derby discipline is finally completed, what do we actually have left in this game, in the playthrough? We have 1 episode of street races. I think there are like 4 races left in the street race discipline, so that would be 1 episode. We have the hypercars. I think there are 8 hypercar races left, so that will probably be a number of episodes, at least 2, maybe 3, 4. It depends on how long these races are. I don't know, but we will buy some new hypercars, and we will have several hypercar episodes in front of us. Also, like I mentioned before, we have the final event, which is a live event, the final event, which will probably complete the playthrough, so we'll save that for last. But what I've also noticed since the last episode is that there is one more live event still to complete. So apart from the final event, we have one more live event to complete, so that will be a separate episode as well. And I don't remember actually exactly what it's called, but it's something, I think it's something like the September event or something like that. So yeah, that's it. We have street racing, hypercars, the final event, and a live event. That's what we have ahead of us in the playthrough series. So, I will round up this episode now. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment. If you want to stay tuned for new content, subscribe to the channel and click the little bell button. Thank you all, have a nice day, bye bye.